Most people don't want to share their struggles with others. There can be many reasons for this hesitancy, but openness about personal challenges often has positive outcomes. On this NSP Short, Tim Powers shares his battle with depression and how the support of friends and family was key to finding mental wellness.
I guess it started to show itself in my undergraduate years at Memorial, and then before I went back to school and I was working in Indigenous affairs after spending time here, but like many people in the time, like binge drinking was big, and we'd also had family history of binge drinking. So I was a bad binge drinker at university, but nobody thought anything of it. And then I would get what I would describe as booze blues, be very depressed afterwards because obviously your serotonin is depleted. And I kind of thought, we all kind of thought, that's probably just a reflection of university life, and that'll straighten itself out. And then was fine here for the most part. The heavy drinking kind of continued, which it tended to in politics then, and then went to New Brunswick and was working at Indigenous Affairs then, and I just burned out. One day we went on a family trip actually to Florida, and I was just lifeless.
With your folks?
Yeah. And they said, we should probably get you some help. And that's when, so that'd be 94, 95 that I get diagnosed and recognize that, it's more than just alcoholism. I mean, I was lucky I didn't have suicidal ideation or anything of that, but I was really just in a dark, cloudy place. As Churchill rightly wrote, himself a depressive. That's the only thing I would compare myself to Winston Churchill on. The black dogs, and he talked about the black dogs of depression and how you're just your mindset changes, your negativity, you feel helpless, and while the whole world might say you shouldn't feel that way, you do. And I was really lucky again to have a good family doctor in New Brunswick. And then I also was fortunate that I was able, because of my mother and my father and the support I had there, to get some first-class mental health care in Newfoundland. And ironically, my first time I went to see the psychiatrist in Newfoundland, I went to the same floor in the hospital where my grandfather, decade before, had been getting shock treatment, and we ran into the nurse who had helped do the shock treatment with him. It was like, wow.
Shock treatment a decade before.
Yeah, so in the 80s they were doing shock treatment. Yeah. Thankfully, I never had any of that. Pharmacology was making, their antidepressants were had become more effective, and I was able to utilize that. So and then I've always tried to be very open about my struggles, because I know a lot of people have them, and I know for me, in the mid-90s when this was happening, I was very lucky to have friends who also I could talk to about it. And it was kind of that transition time where it was okay to start talking about mental illness, and people weren't immediately castigating you or shunning you. And I'm very much encouraged by my parents and my mother in particular, just be who you are, deal with it, it's good, and that's been something I've tried to help others with when I can.
Yeah, people may have started talking about it. It was still pretty early days talking about mental health, so... and you guys in the military have gone through it too, right? Nobody would talk about PTSD or any of these things, and I'm sure you have seen the horrors of that, meted out on friends and people you've commanded. And so I've always viewed talking about whatever it is and trying to, I don't know if I afford it credibility, but I'm not afraid to talk about it. And people should do whatever they think is best for them. But for me, I thought, if I can lead a little bit, I wasn't thinking about it leading. I'm just like, if it helps one other person, then that's good.